Welcome back to my channel Conquer the Fear. In this video we are going to discuss about how you can actually create a GraphQL project using the Spring Boot. Okay, so I am going to discuss how you can actually from scratch create this particular project. Okay, I'm going to step by step explain you how to create the project from the starter and then import it into the IntelliJ and then how to create the endpoints over there. Okay, so let's first go to the website. Okay, so here if you take, I have given all the necessary details like the stable version over here, the artifact id, group id, the java version, the maven, and the details over here. Along with that, on the right side, if you see web is imported, the dependencies, the s database, spring data jpa, and the graphql. Okay, so once you download this particular thing, you will be able to import that particular project in the graphql. That's how I imported. Okay, now the very first thing what you have to look into is that you have to just check out the all the dependencies are available. Okay, once those are available, okay, so you can actually build that particular project and then actually it will download or all your details the jars from there. Okay, now if you have already been working in the Spring Boot, okay, now REST API is working little bit different and GraphQL is working a little bit different. I will explain you how. Okay, now the very basic difference when it comes to GraphQL and REST endpoint. Now in REST endpoint, what we used to do, the request used to land on the controller. Okay, now here actually the case is different. Everything works with the mutation and the query, which is already we write from the resolver. Okay, so I will explain you each and everything. Okay, first have first we'll create the model over here. Okay, now before that, actually I would like to tell you, like, I have created the details which database and other details, what port number and other details I've already added over here. Okay, so you also please add that. Next, once I created this particular book, I have this particular mark, this entity, I have this particular id created. When it is trying to create, I have id, title, author, and isbn details. Okay, that is the model over here. Now if you are working with Spring Boot and along with the if you want to connect any making establish any connection, you need to write database related things, right? So the very first or the common way nowadays to connect with database is Spring Data JPA. Okay, so it provides all the JPA, I mean, repositories. Okay, whether it is CRUD repositories, whether it is JPA repository. I've explained everything in other video. Please check out my playlist. Okay, so there is a full video on what exactly different JPA repositories Spring Data JPA gives us. Okay, and how you can take the advantage of it. Okay, now I have created the repository. I have extended the JPA repository, so it will going to have all the all the methods which we call it as CRUD operation. So this will be automatically created by the Spring Data JPA on the fly. Okay, so you will have save API, you will have run find API, you will have find all, you have delete. Okay, so you can create it as well, right? So those all things are already inbuilt, so you have to just make use of it. Okay, now how GraphQL works is that in the I mean, before that REST API, what you used to do, you used to have a certain mapping. Let's say for the getter, let's say you want to find something, you have the get mapping. You want to post something or create something, you have the post mapping. Okay, but GraphQL works little bit different. I will show you from how call this particular endpoints. How do you can actually set up the postman and call this endpoints, and you can call with the various requests over there. Okay, so we'll come to that. Let us first complete the actually the background work. Okay, now if you see here, before going here, actually I would like to show that under the resource folder GraphQL folder, there is one schema.graphql files. Okay, so under this you will have this particular thing. Okay, so this is the type which you want to get written. Okay, on the type which you are trying to find it. Okay, so what kind of details you want it. Okay, these all details you will check it over here, add it over here. Okay, you have two things over here. One is query and one is mutation. So what query means is that all the read operations you can do it from here. Whether you want to find a single book, whether you want to find all the book, whether you want to find some based on the criteria, let's say name, let's say an id, you can all write it over here. Okay, and what it will return, this one is the what is going to be written over here, this. Okay, so that's what we have written over here. Now mutation is nothing but it's an update point. So update includes you are updating something, you are updating the full data, you are creating something, you are deleting something. You can delete all things or you can delete some values. Okay, so it depends on your requirement, and then you can actually write it. Okay, now if you see, I've created a book, I'm updating some book, I'm deleting some book. Okay, I'm getting a single book over here, I'm getting all the books over here. Okay, so that's how we write this particular GraphQL. So this is one of the important file when it comes to GraphQL. Without this, your GraphQL is not going to work. Okay, then comes the resolver. Now we already discussed that in the REST endpoints you used to have the controller will call the service, and service will call the repository. Here the resolver will be taking care of everything. Okay, so the request will be mapped over there. So whatever the query over here, what is the mutation over here, will be mapped it in the resolver over there. Okay, so we'll first look into the book query resolver. Okay, so I've created this particular file, I have marked it as a controller over here, and you can see I have the repositories over here. Okay, uh, now if you see here, it is going to be calling the query mapping over here. Okay, so whatever I've written over there, it is going to return. So it is taking one input over here, and then it is going to be find by ID. Okay, then you will see I'm returning all the books. Okay, I hope you are able to understand what read exactly, or trying to get some details from the books is written here. Similarly, you have this particular resolver written for the creation. Okay, so here if you see, you might just have a close look at this particular annotation, that is mutation mapping. Now you see this is part of the Spring Data GraphQL. Okay, now if you see, I'm taking the passing argument as title, author, and ISBN. I'm going to create it and save it in the database. Okay, so this is how we create it. And now I wanted to update certain details. So in order to update, what you need to do, you need to first have the ID, or the one which you have to fetch that particular detail, and post that you can update details. So that's what we are doing here. We're first fetching it, and then we are updating all the details based on what we have passed over here. Okay, and lastly we are saving it over here. That's what how update is working. Now in the mutation of delete, okay, so what I'm doing, similar to what we have done in the update, first we have to find that if it is existing, then it is going to delete it. Okay, so that's how we write it. Okay, I hope you are able to understand what all are the necessary things with respect to GraphQL. Okay, now we'll move on to the postman. Okay, I will show you exactly how to write that. Okay, now if you see here, okay, here if you see, uh, in the REST endpoint, what you used to do, you used to have a different endpoints over here, but in GraphQL you will have one single endpoint, okay, over here, and then you can actually change the mutation over here. So with GraphQL, when you compare with the REST API, it has got 2 to 3 major advantages. One is it doesn't need to change the URL. Second, the input can be changed from the client if there is no need of server changes. Okay, okay. So what you require, that is going to be coming from the server. Okay, and it's the clients what it will decide. Okay, not the server is going to decide what data it will retrieve. Okay, so in that case, what happens is there is a huge saving in data, because what happens, let's say you want only ID and the title, so there is no need of getting the details of book with the ISBN, all other things, like when it was first published, all sort of other things which is not required at the client, it is not mandatory for it. Okay, so client can restrict that data from coming from the server. It will require only that chunk of data, and it will make it work. Okay, so that is one of the biggest advantages when it comes to GraphQL. That is not available with the REST endpoint. In that case, what you have to do in the REST endpoint, you have to certainly change the endpoint to what it has to return. Okay, so that's the major advantage, and that of using the GraphQL. Okay. Second, as I already told, there is no change in the URL. Okay. So in REST API, what you used to do, you used to maintain certain versions, right? So let's say today we have done some changes, there will be version 1, there will be tomorrow there is another changes, there is a version 2. Okay, so in that case there is nothing like a version concept in if you come to GraphQL. So on the based on that single endpoint, you can perform all operations, right? Whether it is update, like delete, okay, create anything, okay. So only you have to take care of the mutation whatever, or the query whatever you are passing in the body over here, okay. So once you have this particular post selected, you have to go to the body, and then by default you have to select the raw over here, and then instead of text you have to select the JSON over here, okay. Now once you have this, you can actually decide what mutation it is. Right now what you have to, this is the same name whatever you written in the that GraphQL file, okay. So I'm passing all these particular details, okay, and I'm going to call this, okay. Now you see it is created over here, okay, with all the details. And this, if you see, it is going to return all this particular. Let's say I doesn't want to return the ISBN details, okay. Now you see it will not return over here, okay. So it has created 5 but it is not written that details, okay. So that's how easy it is to change those details, okay, and you can play with it, okay. Now you see it is returning 200. Similarly, now if you see the endpoint is still same, okay. Now I am going to find the 5 id as I've already created, okay. I want to find it by single id, so it will return, let's say, okay. So these are returning something details. So in the similar way you can actually decide what you need to return over here, okay. Then comes, if you want to return all these details, so now you see it is going to return 2 4 5, right. So all the details I have previously created, it will be available, okay. Same thing, nothing, no change over here. Updating, I want to update certain details. So let's say 5, actually I am updating something. Let's say I am updating it to, let's say, so I'm giving 333 over here, okay, and I'm calling over here. Now you see it is updated over here. Now at the end, you see I want to delete something, so I have created the 5, I will delete this, okay. Now if I go back here, okay, I'm trying to find the fetch id, you will see it is returning null, okay. Here also if you see, you will not find it over here, the 5, okay. So that's how simple it is. You doesn't need to do any a lot of settings in this particular thing. It will be automatically on single endpoint, you can perform everything over there, okay. So you just have to change this, okay. I hope this video was very helpful, and also you got an understanding of what how different this particular GraphQL is when it is compared to REST endpoint, okay, and how easy it is when you're trying to create some endpoints, and what advantage it gives you when it comes to choosing and the flexibility, right. So it has got various things, okay. So you can explore more on this, but I gave you the basic understanding how GraphQL is working, okay. I hope this video was very helpful. Please share this video with the needy people. Also don't forget to like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching.